Hey everybody, welcome back. So we're here at Aaron's hangar, and today we're going to work on that 172. We're going to get the fuselage all buffed out, get it out in the sun so that we can take a really good look at it. So without further ado, let's get to work. All right, so me and Aaron have been at this for a couple hours. Now, how many hours has it been, Aaron? A lot. All right. Well, we got all the cut and buffing done, color sanding. So let's show you guys what this plane looks like now that it's all painted. So this is the first time we've had it out in the sun since we got all the paint done. That is a crazy change. What do you think, Aaron?
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. This is good.
Happy with it?
Yes.
All right.
Happy enough to take pictures.
There we go. So that was a lot of work. So we had how many days of prep on that?
5.
So 5 days of prep. Then we had a day of paint. Then all of today, cut and buff. And it is looking awesome. Now it's not perfect. No paint job is, but this one is pretty damn good. Hey everybody, so it has been a week. I'm back out here at the Somerton Airport. Haven't flown in a week, so it's time to get this thing back up, get in the air, and talk about something that was bothering me from a recent YouTube video I saw. So without further ado, let's get in the air and I'll talk about the things that were bothering me on that video. Clear prop.
So we're just waiting for the engine to warm up, and after that we're going to take off and tell you about this little thing that bothered me so much about this weird YouTube video. Somerton traffic, Somerton, I'll leave November, taking up runway 35, going to depart the area to the north, Somerton. Nobody's on final, and nobody's on final, coming the other way. Avionics up. Canopy latched and secured. Alright, full power. Tails up. Airspeed's alive.
Obstacle.
And we're off the ground. Somerton traffic, experimental 8 November, left crosswind departure to north, Somerton. experimental 918 Lima November.
Experimental 981 Lima.
Yeah, it is 918 Lima November off of Somerton, just right now crossing over Highway 8, just looking to do a local flight and stay on flight following.
And 981 Lima November, squawk 0421.
0421, 8 Lima November.
Confirm your call sign as 98 Lima November.
It is 918 Lima November.
918 Lima November, roger, not confirmed type aircraft.
It is a Zenith CH-601.
91 Lima November's radar contact 3 miles west of the board vortex 1000 and say altitude climbing to?
I'm going to remain around 1,000 feet. I'm just going to head out towards Stone Valley.
1 Lima November, roger.
So the thing that bothered me, I was listening to this video, and what he was talking about was what was the top 10 best experimental engines. Now, as I'm listening to him, I mean, he has his own opinion, I get that, you know, whatever. The problem I had was that I think his metrics are completely wrong. He was looking at...
91 Lima November, altimeter 29908.
29908, Lima November. Anyway, so the only thing he was looking at was weight and cost, which I'm going to tell you, those are very important metrics, but they're not the only metrics. In fact, I would say probably the most important metric is mission and airframe. So what's great for one airframe is not going to be great for another airframe. Great example of that is, let's look at the Rotax 912. Great engine, you know, works on pretty much all of the Zenith line. It's a little anemic at either 80 or 100 horsepower, depending on your budget. But one of the bigger problems with it is that for certain airframes, you can't get away from it. So, for example, on the RV-12, the issue that you've got on that one is designed around the 912 Rotax. So things like weight and balance, fuel capacity, all those things factor into the design of that airframe. Basically, it's going to prevent other engines from being applicable to that airframe. So, for example, even though a UL, let's say 130 horsepower engine would be more than applicable to that airframe, one of the problems that it has is that it's lighter. Which you think, wait, why is that an issue? The issue is because it's lighter, you're going to have to change the weight and balance. You're going to have to move the engine forward to keep it within the CG range. Well, that means you're going to have to create your own motor mounts. You're going to have to create your own cowling. You're going to have to look at the fuel system requirements.
32 fly heading 0905.
And when you look at all that, sometimes that engine, while lighter, more modern, etc., doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best engine. So one of the things I like about the Zenith aircraft is they didn't design around an engine, they designed around a firewall forward weight, and they designed around a horsepower range. So with this airplane, it can go anywhere from 65 horsepower to 130 horsepower, and no more than 250 pounds firewall forward. When you look at that, there's a whole lot of engines that fit in that category. You can go anything from some of the VW engines. You could even get into, just because it meets all the characteristics, doesn't necessarily also mean that it's the right engine. So you got to consider things like firewall forward support, who's making the motor mounts. So you have issues with, who's producing the motor mount, who produces the cowling. Is that cowling available? Is it produced in quantity? How long have they been producing it? So there's lots of things that go into what makes a great engine. Now, he didn't even put the Corvair motor on the list, and I think that's because he was focusing solely on on engines that were manufactured for an airframe. But he's talking about some of these other engines like that were BMW based and things like that. That may be great engines, but I question whether or not they're economically viable. Mainly because do they have the firewall forward support? Are they making cowling? Are they doing all of those other things that stuff like Corvair does? So Fly Corvair, he focused real heavily in the Zenith line, and because of that, there's always motor mounts for all of the line. There's cowling, there's instructions, there's a firewall forward package. Viking aircraft did the same thing, where they focused on Zenith airframes, and lo and behold, they all have a firewall forward. Now they're heavier, they're more modern. There's things that are good and bad about all of the different engines. but just basing it solely on weight, I think you're missing a lot of the point of what makes an engine good for experimental aviation.
And I want Lima November, you're going below my radar coverage. Squawk and maintain VFR, frequency approved, and then just give me a call back on your way back in.
Roger, 8 November. And Tower 8 November, 5 miles.
Mile turn left and circle the Class Delta airspace to the southeast.
And Tower 8 November, did you request me to turn to the southeast?
8 Lima November, affirmative. Just remain clear of the restricted area. In approximately 1 mile, you can turn south and circumnavigate the Class Delta airspace to the southeast for Somerton.
Roger, 8 Lima November. Alright, so they don't want me to go over that airport at all today.
Wind calm, clear to land.
Yeah, Yuma Tower, experimental 8 November. I'm going to cancel flight following, just remain clear of the Delta.
Experimental 8 Lima November, roger. Viking 2-1, clear to land pad 3 for 2-2 phase engines.
Doesn't do me any good at this point anyway, so. Alright, let's head into Somerton. Somerton traffic, experimental 8 Lima November is on about a 2 mile final runway 35, full stop, Somerton. Alright, let's get all lined up. Now I've got a point here that I've picked out where it's where I reduce my airspeed, where I'm going to trim for landing, but for right now we're going to keep it at 520 feet. And I need to trim up. Alright, wind is at 276.5. Not a whole lot of wind today. Alright, let's configure. Wheels on forward, make sure his rich carb heat is on, and full trim. Keep it at 500. So I go to full trim, because as soon as I start pulling the power, I want to bleed that airspeed off. So I want to be touching down at about 70, I want to be approaching 72 knots. So this is normally where I'd be entering phase. Final. So, runway 35, full stop Somerton. Alright, so now we're slowing it up. I'm ballooning up, I'm at 440 feet. On center line. Keeping it coming down. I got my spot picked out I want to land at, and get that situated in the peripheral. Slow down even more. Pull the power.
Obstacle.
Give just a little power on, that's 73 knots. Power off. And get into ground effect. Full power all the way.
All right, everybody, so I'm back from that little trip. Really enjoy flying this plane, and there's going to be some other planes here in the near future, like that 172 that you've seen in the earlier in this video. We're going to get that thing together really soon. Again, my dad's plane's coming along. I'll have an update on that probably in about 2 weeks. But until then, this is me telling you guys to get out in the garage, keep building. I'll see you next time.